Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you stopped by today because today we are going to be finishing up our treasure dragon. Yesterday we ended up doing the clay pieces and the painting, and today we're going to be sewing the body and putting everything together and just finishing it up. If you guys didn't see the first part to this video, I'll leave the link down below so you guys can get caught up, but today we are going to be making a treasure dragon. So let's get started. Okay guys, it's finally time to finish our dragon. So we're going to be working on the body. I have all the pattern pieces laid out and we're going to use this to make the body. Now I'm going to be using a bunch of different types of fabrics for this. I've got fake leathers, sequins, all kinds of different things. And they're all going to be different types of golds. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start with the back and the belly first. I have these both cut out. The only thing different is the type of fabric we're using. The back of the dragon is going to be a fake leather. I've got this really cool gold, almost crocodile textured fake leather. And then the belly is going to be a reversible gold sequence that changes to black. And then what we're going to be doing is the base of the tail is going to be the fake leather, so we need to sew this to the belly piece. Now for the sides of the dragon, we have strips of fabric for this, and I want to use my other type of sequence, which is a little bit sheer. So I have this pinned to another layer of fabric for the backing of it, and I have all the lines drawn out, and we're going to sew these together. So I'm going to follow all of these lines, sew them together, and then cut them out. And then we're going to take the sides of the dragon, and we're going to sew those to the belly. So we're going to sew one side to each side of the belly. Now I didn't sew all the way down to where the base of the tail is, I stopped where the sequence changed to fake leather. And then for the tail, you're probably wondering, why do you have black fabric? Well, I needed a base for it, and we're going to actually make this out of layered fake leather. So I'm going to use the same fake leather that we used for the back of the dragon, and we're going to make scoots that go down this tail, and we're going to sew them on and layer them. Now before we do that, we need to sew these two layers together and stuff it. So I'm going to take my sewing machine and just sew all the way around, flip this out, and stuff it. Now I have all the layers for the tail already cut out. The only problem is, because they are going to be kind of layered, you're going to see the underside of the fabric slightly, and I didn't want it to be this kind of white color that's underneath. So I'm going to kind of paint the bottom of all of my fabric pieces first before we put them on the tail. So I'm going to be painting them black, so I figured that would look a little bit better than the white. And we're going to paint those, get them all dried, and then we can start sewing them onto the tail. What I'm doing with the layers of the tail is I have a bottom set and a top set, and we're going to be basically just sewing them onto each side of the tail. So I'm going to start at the very tip, and then I'm going to layer going all the way to the base of the tail. And we're just going to get everything completely covered. Okay, so we have the tail done, and now we need to work on the legs. Now the legs are going to get posed and moved around a lot more than the rest of the body, so I'm going to leave them more of a plush type fabric, and they are going to be a khaki right now, but we are going to paint over them and add a bit more color to them later, and that's going to be when we have everything put together. So for the front legs and the back legs, we're going to take the inside portion and the outside portion, we're going to pin those together and sew down the fronts of all of the legs. Now at first when I designed this dragon, I really didn't want to add wings, but I figured he would look too much just like a reptile. I wanted to make him look a bit more dragon-like, so I'm going to add some vestigial wings. So they're too tiny to actually work, but like a lot of creatures have vestigial limbs in different parts of their body that they've evolved out of using, so I figured we'd do the same thing with the wings. So these are going to be very tiny, basically useless wings. So for this, what we're going to do is the webbing of the wing is going to be made out of a nice felt, and I'm going to start framing around it with the fabric that we're going to use for the finger pieces of the wings. So basically I have a pattern cut out for the top and bottom portion of the wings, and we're going to do the same thing to the felt, and we're going to sandwich all of these together. I'm going to sketch out where I want the actual shape of the wing to be, and we're going to use our sewing machine and follow these lines. After we have those lines sewn into place, what we're going to be doing is cutting off the excess fabric so we can see the webbing of the wings. We're going to have to do this to both sides. And now of course these are very plain right now, but once we have the dragon put together, we're going to paint them up. Okay, so we have all of the different parts of our dragon basically ready, and we're going to start putting it together. And so we're going to start with the belly piece that has the side pieces connected to it, and we're going to add this to the wire frame. So we're going to cut some holes for the wires for the legs to fit through, and then we're just going to run our wire frame through it. We're then going to take our clay head that we made in the last video, and we're going to glue it to the wire for the neck. We're going to let that dry a little bit, and then we can start gluing the fabric for the neck around the base of the head. We're going to let all of that dry, and then what we need to do is we need to start closing up and stuffing our dragon. So I'm going to take our tail, I'm going to run that onto the wire frame as well, and then we're going to take the back fabric and the side fabric, and we're going to start sewing down both sides of the dragon to close everything up. Once we have the whole body sewn up, we're going to start adding the legs into place. So we're going to take the fabric pieces for the front and back legs, and we're going to sew those into place. So we're basically sewing those around where we have that wire coming out for the leg. So I'm going to take the wires that are sticking out of the back of the clay legs that we sculpted, and I'm going to take a 20 gauge wire, and we're going to start wrapping them onto the wires for the legs. We're going to make sure they're nice and secure, and then we can start gluing the fabric for the legs around the ankles and wrists. We're going to let that dry a little bit, and then the next thing that we need to do is we need to stuff and close up the legs. So right now our dragon is kind of plain. Obviously he looks a little bit too reptile-like, and that's why I decided to add the wings. So now we're going to start sewing those onto the body. So we're going to do the same thing that we did with the legs. We have wires for the wings sticking out, and we're going to sew the wings around them and make sure to stuff them slightly as well. And then after we have the wings in place, I'm going to start painting the fabric to match the clay pieces that we have. So I need them to be a little bit more duller and a bit more coppery. Now obviously I love the golds of the fabrics, they look beautiful, but they don't match the clay pieces as much, so we need to kind of add a bit more of a coppery hue to them to make them look a bit more natural and to go with the clay pieces. Now I've said this before, when I paint my bodies, I really don't have much of an idea of what I'm doing when I go into it. I just keep going until I like what I get. So I know I want to use the golds and the different coppery colors to make it look like the clay pieces. So I'm going to start with that, and I'm going to kind of just keep adding different tones until it starts working. Now of course I'm not going in completely blind. I know what colors I use to get the results for the clay pieces, so I'm going to use the same colors to get the same results for the fabric. Now while I was painting all the gold in place, I realized I didn't have any gray on the body, and it looked a little weird having just gray scales on the clay pieces, so I wanted to throw a little bit of that onto the back of the dragon. So I decided, since we have a scale texture on the back of the dragon, to kind of pick a few of those scales and fill them in with gray. And then after I got all the colors of the body correct and I was really happy with it, I realized I kind of wanted to fix up his neck a little bit because it just looked a little bit too scrawny for his head. So what I did was I took a bunch of gems and different things that I figured would work well with the dragon, and I started gluing them to the back of the neck. Basically, I just wanted to make it look like there wasn't just a straight line on the back of the neck from where we have those really thick scales to just the flat fabric. So I wanted to kind of blend it in a little bit by adding some gems. And then after that, since he is a treasure dragon, I figured let's give him a little bit of treasure. So I added some gold chains and stuff like that. Obviously they're not real gold, they're just gold color, and I just sewed those into place and wrapped them around his legs and different things like that, just to make it look like he has a little bit of bling. Okay guys, and that's how I made a treasure dragon. I had so much fun with this project and I can't wait to start on another custom dragon. If you guys have any ideas for them, leave them down below in the comment section. I love seeing your guys' ideas. I'm gonna have him along with a bunch of other creatures in my Etsy shop, so check the links down below if you want to buy anything. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!